multi-religious, multisectoral, and intergenerational collaboration for a better future, held at the COP29 Faith Pavilion. In this session, we aim to bring together diverse religious leaders, women and youth, and experts to discuss concrete strategies to ensure that human dignity and shared human flourishing are at the core of multi-religious and multisectoral commitments and actions to advance sustainable development. Our event will begin with welcome remarks and a pre-recorded opening message, followed by an interactive panel discussion and closing remarks. Without further ado, please allow me to introduce our speakers for the opening session. We are honored to have Dr. Francis Kuria, Secretary General of Religions for Peace, and we will also hear pre-recorded opening remarks from His Excellency Judge Mohamed Abdel Salam, Secretary General of the Muslim Council of Elders, and a co-president of Religions for Peace. Please allow me to give the floor to Dr. Francis Kuria to facilitate a moment of shared meditative silence to be followed by his welcome remarks. Dr. Kuria, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Christine. And now welcome all of those present in this webinar and also at the Faith Pavilion. Take a moment of silence to meditate on our role to seek the strength of the divine, of the sacred in our deliberation. A moment of silence, please. Thank you once again, and thank you for that moment of silence and for your prayers. Warm greetings of peace to all of you here in present, whether physically or through virtually through this medium. It is my profound honor to welcome you to this hybrid side event, Faith in Action, multi-religious, multisectoral, and intergenerational collaboration for a better future, hosted as part of the COP29 Faith Pavilion. Allow me to begin by expressing our deep gratitude to the Muslim Council of Elders for once again hosting this space for faith leaders, which builds on the momentum and success achieved in the first ever Faith Pavilion at COP28. The Faith Pavilion has emerged as a sanctuary within the bustling corridors of the Conference of Parties during the COP29. The urgency that brings us here today cannot be overstated. As reported by the United Nations, we are veering dangerously close to exceeding the critical 1.5 degrees Celsius warming threshold, a point beyond which the impacts on our environment, our economies, and our most vulnerable communities become not only devastating, but in some cases, irreversible. We are already witnessing the early warning signs: extreme weather pattern, rising sea levels, prolonged droughts, and escalating displacement. These are not just distant concerns. They are realities impacting the lives of millions today. More than 3.3 billion people, nearly half of our global population, and our most vulnerable communities become not only devastating, adverse effects in some cases, and severe weather. We are already witnessing the early warning signs. The profound responsibility that lies with each of us. It is the moral fabric of our religious and faith tradition that compels us to act not only out of concerns for today, but in reverence for tomorrow. Every faith calls us to stewardship, to compassion, to justice, and every one of us here, across religious, regional, and generational lines, shares in this responsibility. For over 50 years, Religions for Peace has championed this shared commitment, fostering interfaith cooperation at all levels to protect human dignity and human rights, foster social cohesion, extreme weather pattern, our common home, rising sea levels, prolonged droughts. We gather not only
Dr. Kurian, if you can give us 1 second, we seem to have lost your audio. I don't know if you can give us a couple words again. Okay, it's still not coming in yet. We're so sorry about this. Give us 1 moment. Working to restore the audio connection. And I'll get a thumbs up when we're back in, I believe. Or when they want us to test audio. Would you be able to say a few words again? Oh, Dr. Kurian, if you can check from your side as well, audio-wise, if something has shifted. It should be okay. Christine, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear Dr. Kurian on your side? Yes, okay, so the audio challenge is on our side. Yeah, no, Dr. Kurian, you should be okay. I believe the audio situation's coming from our side. If you can try speaking again, we may have deployed a fix. Okay, it's not there yet. And I'll get a thumbs up when we're back in, I believe. Oh, I'm hearing my own recording. That's pretty cool. Dr. Kurian, can you say a few words for me again? Would you be able to say a few words again? Okay, so we're hearing you again, so you're good. However,
Dr.
there's now
Kurian,
an overlap.
if you can check from your side as well.
Yes, your audio is okay,
audio-wise,
but
if something
I'm hearing
has
an
shifted.
overlap from my side.
It should be okay. Christine, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear Dr. Kurian on your side? Yes, okay, so the audio challenge is on our side.
Give us
Dr.
1
Kurian,
second.
you should be
Dr.
okay.
Kurian, I believe
the audio,
there's like an audio looping situation that's happening on our side.
From our side.
As they're both recording this and live streaming this at the same time.
If you can try speaking again, we may have deployed a fix.
There's 2 of me, yes.
Okay, it's not there yet.
We're so sorry about this, but Dr. Kurian, on your side, you are very A-okay, and then we're going to solve our situation over here.
Okay.
It sounds like it should be okay again.
And I'll get a thumbs up when we're back in,
it's not okay yet.
Oh, I'm hearing my own recording. That's pretty cool. Dr. Kurian, can you say a few words for me again? Would you be able to say a few words again?
Okay, so we're hearing you again, so you're good. However,
Dr.
there's now an
Kurian,
overlap.
if you can check from your side as well.
Yes, in this time, your audio is okay, but I'm hearing an overlap from my side. What is reality truly?
It should be okay. Christine, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear Dr. Kurian on your side? Yes, okay, so the audio challenge is on our side.
Give us
Dr.
1
Kurian,
second.
you should be
Dr.
okay.
Kurian, I believe
the audio,
there's like an audio looping situation that's happening on our side.
From our side.
As they're both recording this and live streaming this at the same time.
If you can try speaking again, we may have deployed a fix.
There's 2 of me, yes.
Okay, it's not there yet.
We're so sorry about this, but Dr. Kurian, on your side, you are very A-okay, and then we're going to solve our situation over here.
Okay.
We have brought outside technical help to...
It sounds like it should be okay.
Just give us 1 more moment.
Oh, nope, it's not
as
okay
we
yet.
continue to
I'm
loop both my voice in the present and past moment.
Dr. Kurian, can you say a few words for me again? Would you be able to say a few words again? Okay, so we're hearing you again, so you're good. However, there's now an overlap. If you can check from your side as well.
Yes, in this time,
your audio is okay. Audio-wise,
I'm hearing an overlap from my side. What is reality truly?
It should be okay. Christine, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear Dr. Kurian on your side?
Yes. Okay. So the audio challenge is on our side. Give us 1 second, Dr. Kurian. I believe the audio. There's like an audio looping situation that's happening on our side. From our side, as they're both recording this and live streaming this at the same time. If you can try speaking again, we may have deployed a fix. There's 2 of me. Yes. Okay. It's not there yet. We're so sorry about this, but Dr. Kurian, on your side, you are very A-okay, and then we're gonna solve our situation over here.
Okay.
We have brought outside technical help to... It sounds like it should be okay. Just give us one more moment. Oh, no, it's not okay yet. As we continue to loop both my voice in the present and past moment. Dr. Kurian, can you say a few words for me again? Would you be able to say a few words again? Okay, so we're hearing you again, so you're good. However, there's now an overlap. If you can check from your side as well. Yes, your audio is okay, but I'm hearing an overlap from my side. What is reality truly? It should be okay. Christine, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear Dr. Kurian on your side? Yes, okay, so the audio challenge is on our side. Give us 1 second, Dr. Kurian. I believe the audio. There's like an audio looping situation that's happening. Okay. It sounds like one of the Steve repeating chain has disappeared. Dr. Kurian, could I ask for... Yes! Oh, I hear you again. It sounds like things are okay.
All right.
Please. I'm sorry we interrupted you. Carry forward.
Okay. So our objective is clear: to galvanize shared tangible actions that advance human flourishing and protect the shared legacy we owe to present and future generations. Religions for Peace is dedicated to ensuring that these core values are at the heart of every commitment and every action we undertake. Today, let us commit to going together far beyond words and intentions towards concrete actions that build a just and sustainable world for all. Our collective efforts here today are a testament to our shared commitment to building resilience, fostering lasting peace, and safeguarding the rights and dignity of mankind and the well-being of our planet. I thank each of you for being here and for bringing your unique perspectives, wisdom, and conviction. Let this session be a catalyst for transformative action, a moment that reminds us of our higher calling, and a movement that honors the interconnected and interdependent web of life we are all part of. Together, let us turn our faith into actions and let that action, ground on the sacred, pave the way to a better future for all. Thank you so much, and I welcome all of you to this and take it back to Christine to invite to bring forth the message from the Judge Abdul Salam.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kuria. Now, as mentioned, let us please turn our attention to the opening remarks from His Excellency Judge Mohamed Abdel Salam.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السيدات والسادة، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسعدني أن أشارك معكم اليوم في هذا الملتقى المهم في جناح الأديان في كوب 29. الإيمان في العمل، تعاون بين الأديان والقطاعات والأجيال من أجل مستقبل أفضل للجميع. إنه لشرف عظيم أن أكون جزءا من هذه الفعالية المهمة في مؤتمر الأطراف في دورته 29 في أذربيجان، حيث نجتمع معا ضمن شعار الإيمان في العمل Faith in Action، لنبحث أفق التعاون الممكن بل الواقع فعلا بين الأديان والثقافات وتفاعلنا في المجالات المختلفة والتحديات الإنسانية المشتركة. إنني حين أشارك في هذا اللقاء المهم الذي يمثل فرصة لتوحيد الجهود وتعزيز التعاون بين هذه الصفوة وهذه المؤسسات المهمة التي تخدم الأديان وتخدم رسالة الأديان لبلورة استراتيجيات تجمعنا من أجل مستقبل أفضل لأجيالنا وللبشرية كلها مهما اختلفت الأديان والثقافات والأجناس والأعراق. إن عبارة الإيمان في العمل تحيل إلى تصور محوري لا يعتبر بأن الإيمان مجرد اعتقاد روحي أو شعور نفسي أو تجربة شخصية، بل يتجاوز ذلك إلى كونه علاقة ديناميكية بين الاعتقاد والسلوك، بين الإيمان والممارسة المثل والقيم والسلوك الفردي والجماعي، لأن أفعالنا وسلوكياتنا وطبيعة علاقاتنا مع محيطنا ومجتمعنا وبيئة عمراننا هي ما يعكس قيمة المعتقدات وحقيقة ما نؤمن به في حياتنا. عندما نترجم إيماننا إلى أفعال فإنه غالبا ما يتجسد في أشكال خدمة الآخرين ورفع الظلم عن المظلومين ومساعدة المحتاجين وتوجيه الضائعين وإنذار الغافلين. عند العمل فقط تتجسد الرسالات السماوية وقيم الأديان التي نؤمن بها واقعا، وما تحمله من رؤى ومبادرات ومبادئ وتوجيهات لرفاه الإنسان وحفظ كرامته وبيان حدود الأمانة التي على عاتقه تجاه الأسرة الإنسانية. فتتجسد الأديان أفعالا ومنجزات ذات أثر على المجتمعات التي نعيش عليها. إن التحديات التي نواجهها اليوم في صدارتها تحدي التغيرات المناخية التي تهدد وجود الجميع على كوكب الأرض، لا تفرق بأي سبب بين الناس حتى لو كان هذا السبب هو الدين. هي تطال الجميع، فضلا عن المشاكل التي تنشأ عنها مثل الفقر وعدم المساواة وتفكك المجتمعات وتزايد وتيرة الصراعات والعنف والظلم. كل هذه التحديات تضع الإنسانية على محك كبير باعتبار أنها تهدد الجميع. فكما يقال دائما لا أحد آمن وحده، ولا أحد يمكن أن يعيش في هدوء واستقرار وحده إذا ما كان هدوء واستقرار الجميع مهدد. من خلال تجاربنا المهمة في مجلس حكماء المسلمين في سلسلة الحوارات بين الشرق والغرب، في مبادرات حوار الأديان المختلفة، في برامج تأهيل الشباب وتمكينهم في إدارة الصراعات وفي تخفيف حدة التوترات، وفي نشر قيم السلام والأخوة والتعايش من خلال استثمار الرصيد الروحي والأخلاقي للأديان. وقد ركزنا في مجال تغيرات المناخ. نحن نؤمن بأن الإيمان لا يمكن أن يبقى حبيس دور العبادة. نحن نؤمن بأن الدين ينبغي أن يشتبك ويرتبط مع كل التحديات التي تواجه الإنسانية، وبالتأكيد الدين له دور وصوت مؤثر ومهم في مواجهة تحدي المناخ. إننا حين انفتحنا على العمل مع الآخرين الذين هم شركاء في الإنسانية وأخوة حقيقيين في الإنسانية، رأينا إمكانات الحكمة في رصيدهم والاستعداد الذي يفوق التوقعات للعمل لأجل صالح البشرية. اكتشفنا قوة التنوع كمصدر للإلهام وإيجاد حلول لمشاكلنا المشتركة، وعرفنا أن الاختلاف هو السنة التي أرادها الله للكون دائما وأبدا، ولن تتغير هذه السنة، وينبغي أن نستثمر اختلافنا ليكون قوة توحدنا دائما في مواجهة المصير المشترك للحفاظ على أيضا كوكبنا المشترك. لقد تعاوننا في السنوات الماضية مع كل الأديان، كل الثقافات، كل المعتقدات. الحقيقة لم نجد أن الاختلاف يمثل تحدي، بالعكس وجدنا أن الاختلاف يمثل قوة روحية كبيرة وعظيمة ينبغي أن نستثمرها لخلق عالم أكثر توازن وتناغم وسلام للجميع. السيدات والسادة، العمل معا لا شك هو الأمل في مستقبل أفضل، فهو يعيد إلينا الثقة في إنسانيتنا وإمكاناتنا وقدراتنا على مواجهة تحدياتنا المشتركة. ولذا أجدد شكري لكم على دعوتكم لي للمشاركة في هذا الملتقى المهم في جناح الإيمان، هذه المبادرة التاريخية التي أثبتت وأكدت على أن حوار الأديان والثقافات قادر وبقوة على إيصال صوت الدين من أجل السلام، صوت الدين من أجل الأخوة، صوت الدين من أجل مواجهة تحدي تغير المناخ الذي يهدد أطفالنا وأجيالنا المستقبلية ويهدد مستقبلهم الذي نأمل أن يكون كريما وجميلا لهم جميعا. شكرا لكل المنظمين لهذا الحدث، وشكرا لمؤسسة أديان من أجل السلام التي أتشرف أيضا بالانتماء إليها والعمل معها منذ فترة طويلة، وأؤكد على أهمية المبادرات التي تقوم بها، وأشكر أمينها العام وكل فريق العمل بها، وأشكر أيضا القائمين على جناح الأديان والفريق الرائع الذي يدير جلسات هذا الجناح المستمرة طوال فترة كوب 29 في أذربيجان، وأتمنى أن يخرج بنتائج تفيد البشرية وتخفف من مخاوفنا جميعا من مستقبل تغير المناخ. شكرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you very much for your attention. Our deep appreciation to His Excellency for providing a great foundation for the next portion of our program, which is the interactive panel discussion. It is now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Steve Chiu, the Buddhist Chi Foundation's youth representative at the United Nations, who will moderate the panel discussion. You have the floor, Steve.
Thanks, Christine. We have such a beautiful guest panel of both in-person and online experts joining us. Here in person to my far left, we have Mr. Mohamed Bahr, Director of Strategic Planning from Muslim Council of Elders. To his right, we have Ms. Cecilia Schirmeister, representative to the United Nations at the Bahá'í International Community. Joining us online, we also have Bicho Vasu Bandhu, who's the co-chair of UNEP's Faith for Earth Youth Council and a member of Religions for Peace's International Youth Committee. Alongside, we also have Ms. Merylene Chitharai, who's a youth member of Religions for Peace South Africa, and Ms. Laura Vargas, who's the executive secretary of Religions for Peace Interreligious Council of Peru and a national facilitator of Interfaith Rainforest Initiative Peru. So as we come together to really reflect on faith in action, particularly at this element of multi-religious and multisectoral and intergenerational collaboration, I'm so excited for us to really be reflecting in our diversity and our shared commitment to really benefit humanity and address climate crisis. So first, for Mohamed, we are coming together here and we're so grateful for the Muslim Council of Elders for hosting the second edition of COP's Faith Pavilion, drawing on your experience in uniting such a diverse coalition of moral and spiritual voices. What do you see as some of the most pressing challenges and opportunities for religious and faith leaders in advancing environmental and social sustainability? And how can these be addressed in collaborative spaces like the Faith Pavilion?
So thank you, Steve, for the wonderful introduction. And I will not go directly to the challenge, but I would like to give my insights as a person and as a head of strategic planning for the Muslim Council of Elders. I think like the faith leaders and faith-based organizations are known for years to influence and mobilizing people for common good, but now we're shifting this to be more focused on climate change. So it's not something new to us, but we have been missing, and we were supposed to be a pillar from the beginning, but we were missing for so many years in COPs. And I think it's a time. This is the time where we need all hands on deck, and we are glad that we're giving the opportunity. And now we have, I would say, a united front, and we are bringing our faith communities and religious institutions to the frontier of the discussion. And also our organizations, they are gaining like a more expertise into COPs, and they have a more delegation, and we are, I would say, going through this learning curve for our teams, and this is one of the strengths, I would say, that for the Faith Pavilion. When we thought about the name for the Faith Climate Action, for me, faith was like I would say we need to have faith in each other as a religious institutions and faith-based organizations. And we need to give people faith and hope. And this is one of the objectives of the Faith Pavilion. And for climate action, I think this is, I would say, the future objective is to show the world and to show the UNFCCC and all the stakeholders what kind of action we deliver. Speaking about challenges, I think it's the first challenge to us is internal, of course, and we need to have a unified voice, a unified narrative as a religious institutions and faith-based organization, and something that really to be understood to the people outside of the venue. Because I still, like, during my discussions with my colleagues in the UNFCCC and even and my friends in UNFCCC and my colleagues, they don't understand what is the role of faith leaders. That's completely different than the role of faith-based organizations. So the role of faith-based organizations really varies from doing tech, engineering, to providing aid. But for faith leaders, they have this moral compass and they have the influence on the people. So it's two different roles. It's not one group. It's several groups, and we need to have, I would say, a guide to these people. Like, how can we influence? The second thing is that I would say the challenge is to challenge each other to work together. We're still fragmented, and we hope that for the Faith Pavilion, so one of the objectives is for the faith-based communities to have a home at COPs and a place that they feel they belong to. And we didn't have a lot of expectations, but that was the initial thought about the Faith Pavilion. But I think after the success, I think we need to deliver on the second part, which is the climate action. And this requires that we work together. So I would challenge everyone here and all the organizations participating is we need to work together. We need to come next year that we have joint projects. We have a multi-stakeholders initiative and to deliver on the theme of the discussion. So in my opinion, this is, I would say, the biggest challenge that we need to overcome.
Thanks, Mohamed. I think it's really beautiful as we think about like the challenges that like kind of bring us together into the Faith Pavilion, but how also what we take towards COP30, right? It's about working together and challenging each other to go out of our comfort zone. And so now I'm really excited to pass it over to Merylene, who's a member of the Religions for Peace South Africa, where you've stewarded a lot of initiatives that leverage this intersectionality of spirituality and environmental advocacy, including establishing Religions for Peace's Interfaith Youth Climate Forum, right? So building on kind of Mohamed's challenge of how we work together, what in concrete terms are some of the faith-inspired approaches to climate action from your world? Can you share some of these concrete examples of what it means to really embody this spiritual eco-activism? Over to you.
Yeah. So, Chigurdeva Namaste. Thank you, Steve, Dr. Francis Kuria, and distinguished guests for this opportunity to share my insights. So for me, a faith-inspired approach to climate action means being in conversation with the divine and with Mother Earth. It means living with an eco-consciousness of having a deep connection to the earth through our traditional indigenous and religious scriptures and spiritual beliefs. So when we are in service to the divine and to the earth in our climate actions, it comes from a place of deep reverence, gratitude, and love, knowing that we are tenancy on this planet and we have a responsibility to not destroy this planet and take care of it for the now and future generations. So it means challenging our beliefs of transforming harmful lifestyle, behavioral patterns, processes, and policies to live life like a minimalist, living in harmony and in balance with Mother Nature, but to always be conscious about the consequences of our actions against the earth. And living life as a minimalist means to reduce, reuse, and recycle, living simply, taking only what we need. So most of our problems are due to overconsumption, greed, and disrespect of the earth's natural resources and its creatures. And it means conserving and preserving so we leave resources for future generations. It also incorporates using a spiritual approach to engage in climate positivity because our negative thoughts and actions also have a polluting effect on our planet. Therefore, in my youth work, I incorporate educational activities with a spiritual awareness of climate positivity for this ego consciousness to develop inner transformation, but to also connect with various faith teachings to build a sacred relationship to the earth. So hence in my work, I also promote like an earth meditation to bridge this gap between ecology and sociology, using our positive intentions and emotions to uplift the planet with peace, love, and gratitude. Because we firstly have to understand that we all are interconnected and that we are energetic beings. We all have a divine energy inside of us that gives life to this human body and to all of creation that connects us. And our emotions, whether it's positive or negative, has a ripple effect on our planet. Our external environment has an influence on us psychologically, whether we are impacted by extreme floods, pollution, or violence. So if you observe the current state of the world at the moment, nature is asking us to stop, reflect, redefine, and repurpose the way we live our lives. Spiritual eco-activism also means doing actions that benefits the welfare of society. So it means empowering the communities through project that uplifts and has a sacred moral and sacred flourishing. And transformation has its deep roots in spirituality, in interfaith and indigenous wisdom to transform the mind, the thought process, consciousness, and eventually multilateral systems and actions. And to conclude, to say indigenous and interfaith knowledge must have a space to become an integrated intervention for a principled, ethical, and faith-valued leadership for a unified humanitarian impact to mitigate climate change. And that's the approach we always look at in our youth work. Thank you.
Thank you, Merylene. I think it's so lovely that you're also speaking to challenging ourselves, right? Challenging our beliefs around lifestyles, the policies that we have, and then our relationship with the natural world and how we relate to it, how we consume with it, and then really to put these integrated interventions back into this broader ecosystem of care that we really are looking to transform the UN with. And so I'm so happy now to pass it over to Cecilia, who really works at this intersection of really facilitating these conversations at the UN, right? So Cecilia, for you, as BIC's rep to the UN in New York, you really play this crucial role in like cultivating interreligious and intersectoral partnerships, right? So thinking about like what does it mean to challenge us to work together, right, for people and planet. And so in your experience, what unique strengths do religious and faith communities bring to partnerships? And then that are specifically aimed at addressing the climate crisis. Over to you.
Thank you so much to our dear moderator, Steve, for handling all the tech challenges in the beginning so gracefully, and to my other co-panelists who have spoken before me. To your question, what can the religious and faith communities bring, I think bring to the table that is unique, maybe compared to other actors in this space? I think to start with, religion and faith allows us to be united against something that is more foundational than maybe any of the other demands that we are responding to. So of course we have career, maybe we have family, we have different elements of life that are so fractured. But religion, faith, the belief in something bigger than us, I think it's like the foundation of building a house. It's an access around which all of our other, all of the other things that consume us can turn. And it can then inform how we interact with others on the day-to-day. So it's really like, I feel like it's a very potent force that just infuses and allows us to transform our interactions and really to transform our society. So when thinking about what religion and faith can offer, I would say maybe to start with, it's an expanded sense of identity. So both in our identity with others, like seeing ourselves as one human family, the oneness of humanity. Seeing the needs of others as integral and equal to the needs of oneself. Seeing really this shared interdependence that we have, but then also our interdependence and our shared identity with the natural world. I think, as some of the panelists that spoke before me said, we cannot rely on the natural world as only something that allows us to consume. There has to be more of a balanced and harmonious relationship. So that expanded sense of identity is one place to start. I think also we can conceive of religion and faith as a complementary body of knowledge in addition with science, and in complementarity with science. So we're here at COP, we're hearing all of these technical proposals, we're hearing about the challenges, and every COP comes, we have great discussions, and then we see gaps in implementation, let's say it like that. So I think if we see religion and science almost as two wings of one bird, I don't think that we can necessarily assume that science is going to solve our problems. Because if science in excess can allow for too much consumption, it can allow for materialism, it can allow for advancement in ways that perpetuate inequity, perpetuate the historical injustices and their implications, rather than addressing them and resolving them. So if we were to see science in complementarity with religion, then instead we would see the scientific, the medical, the technological advances tempered with qualities like collaboration, qualities like trust, like mutual aid, like reciprocity. So, and this conceiving of these two bodies in harmony with one another, I think allows religion and allows faith communities to have a really pivotal role in redefining what progress is. Because today, so often we think about progress as, it's defined in many ways by colonial assumptions that history has just allowed us to progress on, allowed half of the world to progress on. And if we think about maybe the balancing of material and spiritual development, then we can see, or we can envision, a society in which these qualities that I mentioned, generosity, collaboration, seeing your brother, seeing a man as your brother, all of these sort of spiritual truths, we can see the application of that in society and learn more about how that in turn can advance us materially. So I think it's really important, and just as you said, the importance of the Faith Pavilion here, it gives us an opportunity to think about how we can work together and to bring these two realities of life together rather than to see them as separate pieces.
Beautiful. Thanks, Cecilia. I think thinking about how we close this gap on implementation, it's all about bringing in this spirit too, right? We have the technical answers, but how do we get to also the spirit that inspires us to take these actions? And then to ensure that the direction and destination we're heading to is one that is tempered with values that faith and spiritual organizations bring, I think will create beautiful collaborations. And so now I'm so excited to pass it over to Bicho Vasu Bandhu, who, in addition to serving as a Buddhist monk at the Dhammapada Sangha, you also lead an impactful interfaith initiatives and amplify voices of interfaith youth in decision-making processes to really address global challenges as the co-chair of UNEP's Faith for Earth Youth Council and a member of Religions for Peace's International Youth Committee. So based on your experiences, can you share some of the success stories and best practices from interreligious and intergenerational initiatives that address the climate crisis? Over to you, Bichu Vasu Bandhu.
Thank you, Steve. Warm greetings from Tucson, Arizona, in the United States of America. Our local time is 4 a.m. It is an honor for me to be with you virtually at this side event at COP29. And thank you, Dr. Kuria, for your welcome remarks. Thank you, His Excellency Judge Mohamed Abdel Salam, for your opening remarks. And thank you, Ms. Christine Leonardo, for your dedication and work in organizing this event. I'm so happy to be with you, with all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Steve, for this panel discussion. Also, greetings to Merylene, Laura, Cecilia, and Mohamed. This time together is a reminder of the wonderful interfaith movement to which we belong. In the next 3 minutes, I will share with you some of the success stories and best practices of interfaith and intergenerational initiatives to address the climate crisis. Last November, I had the honor of representing the United Religions Initiative and the Center for Earth Ethics at the COP16 on biological diversity, which was held in Cali, Colombia. I present the report called Our Future, Empowering Youth-Led Global Biodiversity Movements at the Faith Hub. And also we met with the Executive Secretary of the Convention on Biological Diversity and with high-level religious leaders, both youth and elders. We also have many success stories from diverse contexts at the United Nations Environment Programme's Faith for Earth Youth Council, which many friends and members are with you in person at COP29. The Faith for Earth Youth Council is a platform comprised of young leaders and members of youth movements around the world. Currently, we have 23 members, supported by 7 advisors, with a unique background who set priorities to address climate change. Another success is the contributions of many young people to the official side event to the UN Summit of the Future, co-organized by Religions for Peace and the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum. The Pact of the Future reaffirmed the ambition to approach to major world challenges, including climate change. The pact includes a global digital compact and a declaration on future generations, committing to take future generations into account during policy discussions and decision making. It outlines guiding principles, commitments, and actions, noting the fundamentals of a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment where we as humanity learn to live in harmony with nature. Another success story was in January of this year with our friends of Faith for Our Planet, FFOP. We participate in the Youth Interfaith Leaders Fellowship on Climate Change at Duke University, connecting with young people from diverse backgrounds. And lastly, locally here in Arizona, we are working with indigenous communities to protect sacred lands. For example, last Saturday we observed our interfaith walk at the Great Bend of the Gila, which is a sacred land with deep cultural, historical, and spiritual significance to indigenous communities. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you so much, Bicho, Vasu, Bandhu, for your reflections. I think it's so powerful to hear how, through being this convener and bringing together diverse youth and interfaith voices, we're not only able to effectuate policy and ensure that our voices are in these decision-making processes, but then we come back to the local and we take action together with indigenous communities, right? And I think that embodies the spirit of exactly what we're advocating for when we say we should be challenging ourselves to do more, to work together as an interfaith community. And so now I'm so happy to pass it over to Ms. Laura Vargas, who, in her role as an Executive Secretary of Religions for Peace Interreligious Council of Peru, she plays a crucial role in facilitating this sort of interfaith and intersectoral cooperation to address the critical issue of deforestation, right? So Laura, for you, based on your experience, how has multisectoral collaboration helped in the integration of climate and indigenous issues into advocacy, policymaking, and social services? And what have some of these key strategies been for building the sort of long-term partnerships between faith communities, civil societies, and other sectors to address climate crisis that we've kind of been talking about so far already? Over to you.
Good morning to all. Greetings from Lima, Peru. It's a pleasure to be here this morning or afternoon. Thank you so much for this invitation. We in Peru, in Lima, in the Interreligious Council, deeply believe that we are experiencing on our planet, our only home, is so serious, urgent, and complex that we cannot think that the solutions to the multiple crises we're facing can be found from a single actor or from a single vision of faith or politics. Both in the Interreligious Council and in the Interfaith Initiative for Tropical Forests, we work to seek multi-sectoral, multi-religious, and multi-actor collaboration. Building bridges with other religious actors, we participate in activities together. A very important moment is to celebrate Independence Day of Peru, that give us the possibility to address the president, high-level authorities, and diplomatic corps. Also, there's an open dialogue with the state at that local, regional, and national level. We have signed cooperation agreements with ministries and state offices, with social organizations and NGOs, and even business sectors. We are always ready to act together, seeking affinities in the fundamentals. It is not that we have to fully agree on everything, but yes, in key elements that can unite us. The care of life, and especially the life of the most fragile and vulnerable, is something that has always challenged us, unites us, and helps us as a driving force to build bridges and generate with multiple allies the search for solution to the difficult situation indigenous people are experiencing. We launched some years ago the Pact for the Amazon and its healthy forests, so to achieve the conviction that the health of forests reflects the health of society. An important point to note is that the poor and vulnerable are not only people, men, women, boys, girls, young people who are hungry and who lack the most basic things to live with dignity, but also the whole of creation, fragile and defenseless, which is often at the mercy of the economic interests of indiscriminate use and abuse. These are the issues that unites us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. I think it's so beautiful as you're reflecting with us on the different ways in which you're able to come together with governments, civil society, and other faith organizations, and even the private sector, that it's about finding these fundamentals that anchor us and unite us, recognizing that our solutions to the multiplicity of crisis isn't just found in one actor or one faith, but it's in these multisectoral and religious collaborations. So now we'll go back to our second round of conversation. I pass it over to Bicho Vasu Bandhu to continue us on this conversation of collaboration as we think about what are some of these elements that are required to ensure that as we embark on multi-religious and multi-sectoral commitments, that we have a grounding in respect for human dignity and shared flourishing of current and future generations. Over to you.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, for example, we have the Manresa 2022 Path, emerged from the Lindau Conference of the World Council of Religious Leaders on Faith and Diplomacy, Generations in Dialogue. So this pact emphasized a multi-religious and intergenerational collaboration. Then it continued with events like Love and Respect the Earth, a multi-religious collaboration to address the climate crisis. Also at COP27, side event, realizing ambition through ethical, intergenerational, and multi-sectoral responses to climate crisis. We believe that the climate crisis demands a multi-sectoral, a interreligious, intergenerational, and gender-sensitive approach. We, as youth, face effects of the climate crisis, inheriting social, economic, and environmental challenges. We, at Religions for Peace, recognize youth leadership's crucial role in solving the crisis and commit to supporting youth leaders. So we believe that incorporating environmental education in religious institutions ensures intergenerational, interreligious, and multi-sectoral exchanges for social development and innovation to address inequality and discrimination, fostering inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable cities. Every single person, each of us, from grassroots to high-level approaches, we can actively contribute to ensuring human dignity. I believe that this also includes our daily lives, interactions with family, with our grandparents, with children, and also with religious leaders, both youth and elders. My invitation today, Steve, is that each and every one of us continue to promote our deep connections, creating networks and communities to learn from each other. We, in this wonderful interfaith movement, we are thousands of people and hundreds of organizations connected in this interfaith movement. At Religions for Peace, young people are the present and the future. In the same way that elders are supporting us today, in the future, I believe that we as a young people also have the commitment to support the younger generations for the sustainability of all of our work. We today celebrate the diversity and the unique perspective that we have from different religions. This is that unite us. Today we are highlighting the power of working together across generations. So my invitation is to embrace this diversity and fostering intergenerational collaboration in our communities. locally, nationality, and globally. I believe that together we can build a future of understanding, respect, and shared purpose. So thank you so much, each of you, for your dedication. I really want to collaborate with you. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Vicho Vasu Bandhu. I think the reflection around the power of education to be able to build us towards empowering youth so they can steer us towards that better future is so poignant. And thinking about how we in each of our own bodies through our time at COP can really be investing in deepening connections, building that power between how we relate with each other so we can collaborate further. And so to continue this conversation, coming back to Mohamed, you've heard a lot of conversation around how these respective panelists have been responding to our challenge of working together. And I'd love to think from your perspective, what recommendations you can offer to enhance the collective impact of how our faith-based organizations are contributing to climate action, right? How can we take more concrete steps to really translate these global commitments into local actions that reach communities directly affected by climate change? Over to you.
Thank you, Steve. It's not an easy question, but but let's dream. Like I would love to see in the Faith Pavilion and COP30 that we have developed an actionable, faith-driven sustainability framework that represent Religious for Peace, that represent us, that represent the Faith Pavilion and the coalition. That we collaborate more with governments, with scientists, and to convey our message and our narrative, and we have a unified front. And this is really a lot of efforts that we can do as a faith-based organizations, reaching out to scientists and involve them and a lot of government and take time to speak with them. And the third thing in my wish list, I would love to see that the faith-based organizations that are really specialized in climate action is to be more involved on the national level. They get to understand what the NDCs looks like, to get their share. Most of the organizations, they want a just transition and they focus on climate justice, but to get this justice, they have to be involved on the national level. They have to understand their national policies, and even doing the advocacy and the understanding and asking to build their capacity so they can understand these policies, because for most of the faith-based organizations, they don't understand or they do not get involved in building these national policies. And some countries, they don't have a policy, so at least like if another country, they have a faith-based organization that they have a policy, they even can consult the government on their national, because a lot of, I would say, developing countries and they don't have even a national policy for many things like adaptation, mitigations, and so I think that these are my recommendations, that we can, as a faith-based community and under the flag and the theme of the Faith Pavilion, we can work together and encourage the collaborations in these areas.
That's beautiful, Mohamed. I like this dream, right? It's a three-part dream. We come to better consensus, we create this framework, we collaborate more with scientists and governments, and then we ensure that all of our faith champions working at that national level can really work to push transformation, not just in calling out through moral leadership, but really getting involved in that process and putting in that action, right? And I think that's such a beautiful vision and really tremendous recommendations for how we can really deepen our impact as a faith community to address our climate crisis together. together. And so now I'm going to pass it over to Merylene to continue us on this narrative and conversation. We know if we want to do this work, we need more youth involved, right? But how can religious and faith communities work more collaboratively with youth to really protect our common home and safeguard the future for both people and planet? And what are these concrete actions that youth can take to contribute into mitigation and adaptation responses, especially as it comes to humanitarian emergencies? Over to you.
So thank you, Steve. I think for collaboration, the youth need to be invited to be part of the important conversations for an inclusive and transformative way of engaging, for their voices to be heard. It's stated that young people have great potential as catalysts for societal change. And we can see that many key problems need global action, and it is missing the mechanisms to deliver a coherent and effective response. So therefore, interfaith youth leaders can leverage to be that mechanism, to be more proactive, to engage in intergenerational spaces for a leadership that bring positive change with concrete creative actions. So this I've personally experienced being involved in drafting the Manresa Pact with Religions for Peace. It has been inclusive of youth, women, religious leaders, and government. And humanitarian approaches means resilience. Youth are also that resilience for problem solving and being part of the solutions. Humanity is not prepared enough nor adapted enough for extreme weather conditions and climate change. And this also means looking at a resilient infrastructure blueprint with a sustainable architecture for resilience. We can have humanitarian aid and support, but it's not a long-term solution rooted in sustainable development. It is a temporary solution and doesn't address the cause of actions that youth can contribute to mitigate climate change would be through their leadership, whether it's reforestation projects, being involved in policymaking, promoting spiritual eco-activism. Youth can bring a theory of change approach for a clarity of purpose. And echoing Dr. Francis Kuria open speech and my colleague Vasu words earlier, multi-religious, multisectorial, and intergenerational collaboration, partnerships, and solutions are needed for a solid multilateral blueprint for transformative change. This provides a platform for creative problem solving, for holistic and pragmatic interventions for resilience, leaving behind a practical working model for humanitarian peace building and climate action. By engaging in this way, it depicts a different way of life, one that cares, that is of kindness, that is inclusive, not leaving out anybody. It comes from a place of faith, love, and unity, making greater strides in peace-building climate action initiatives. So this has been my approach in the Interfaith Youth Climate work, to forge a theory of change for creative problem solving for climate action. And we have to be honest about the gaps, be reflective, and find a different integrated approach for action. And my favorite quote is, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking that created them, but as people of faith, it is hope that drives us to action. So these are my insights, and thank you so much for giving me the space and this opportunity to share them. I remain grateful. Thank you.
Thanks, Merylene. I love this notion that, like, if we are to build this space for youth, that we need to honor their voices. We need to hold space for them to be able to express this theory of change, and to also provide the mentorship that's needed to kind of guide them through this process, while also recognizing on the humanitarian side that similarly, we can't just give aid and support. We need preparedness, right? We need to build that framework before things come in. Similarly, we can't just bring youth into a space. We need to give them the mentorship, the resources, the actual space to be able to effectuate that change, so that we can transform our hope into action. And so I'm happy now to pass it over to Laura to continue us on this conversation of really concrete steps, right? Thinking about what it means to ensure a sustained collaboration, right? Like Mohamed spoke about, like a dream of what collaboration could look like. And then Merylene comes in about like, what does it mean for youth to like have a space and platform for collaboration? But what does it mean to really hold and sustain that, to ensure that from religious, faith communities, governments, and private sector, that they are all able to work together, and that the leadership of indigenous peoples, women, and youth are central in whatever solutions we are creating at both a local and global level. Over to you, Laura.
Thank you. I was asked to think and present some strategies that we are developing in working with environmental issues and all the forests reality, no? And we believe there are four very important strategies to work. The first one is respect. This strategy helps us to build trust, to feel part of a larger project to protect and care for a shared humanity and the house we all inhabit. A second strategy is listening in depth. An attentive ear allows us to value the experience of the other person. With that, we overcome fears and doubts. It is no longer the other, it's ours. The third strategy for us is transparency. It is very important that our interlocutors perceive that there is nothing hidden, that there are no cards under the table, that we want to work together, because what we're facing is very, very important for our future. And the fourth strategy is repairing the damage. Acting with our backs turned and against people and nature does a lot of harm. Harm to people and harm to nature. If we want them to feel that we are part of their hopes for a more human world, as the Earth Charter requested 24 years ago, and today urgently requested by the Pact for the Future, the SDGs, and the Paris Agreement, we must feel the urgency to repair the damage caused. In some cases, there's nothing left to do, no? But in others, it is still possible to repair, regenerate, redo the damage inflicted. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Laura. I think it's a beautiful four-part framework. You know, these are the values that ground how we ensure our collaboration is rooted in trust and sustainability. And I'm so excited now to pass it back over to Cecilia to close us off in our panel discussion, thinking about the BIC's conviction of the oneness of humankind, right? Laura spoke earlier about how we go from others to ours, right? So with this oneness, what are some of these concrete steps that religious and faith communities can take to cultivate this culture that is grounded in the well-being and flourishing of current and future generations, and really upholds our shared responsibility for environmental stewardship? Over to you.
Thank you so much, Steve, to my co-panelists. And Steve knows how much I love this question. So when we're talking about the cultivation of culture, I think that starts at the grassroots, and I think it really begins with building community. So what do we mean by building community? Because we want to talk, I think, about concrete strategies. So if I were to think about building community, I would think about really starting in the neighborhood with your neighbors, with people that are different than you, that maybe have starkly opposing opinions to you and different realities, and seeing how we can find harmony, how we can create unity, not uniformity, but unity in diversity, and to bridge the gaps in our differences. So that can start concretely with something as easy as creating spaces for dialogue and for exchange, for really building bonds of trust, building bonds of love, building bonds of friendship with your neighbors. And yesterday, sitting right here, we actually had an event with the president of the 73rd session of the General Assembly, Maria Fernanda Espinosa, and she spoke about love as a political category for transformation. So how can we think about these spiritual principles like love, like hope, like trust, not as just naive terms, but really as generative forces that can build momentum and that can change society? Because I think if we think about community building as the bringing together of people, even on a very small scale, around some of these spiritual principles, we can see how society can be transformed. Because it's bringing people together around, you know, the concept of agency, of ownership, of taking ownership of your reality and thinking about how we can make that better for all the participants of society, all the members of society. So the creation of spaces for dialogue. Capacity building, I think, is another concrete tool in building community and cultivating culture. Capacity building, for example, in the context of the environment, about being able to read one's reality. So what if, when we're talking about dreaming, what if we were to think of an example, imagine a world where young people, starting from childhood, were engaged in educational activities to build their capacity to read the reality and to observe, to analyze the needs of their community members, and then think about how systematically to respond to those needs and those concerns. And this is not really a dream, because speaking from Bahá'í experience accumulated around the world, there are thousands of localities and of neighborhoods that are really engaging in this process of bringing people of all ages, of all backgrounds, living in a neighborhood together to analyze how can we make the neighborhood a safer, more prosperous, peaceful, just place for everyone that lives there. So I think going back to the question, when it comes to cultivating culture, it's really these elements that are more on an interpersonal level. And we see that when some of these interpersonal engagements are animated by spiritual qualities, it permeates a whole society, it permeates a neighborhood, and then it allows for culture to shift. And then I think moving into more of like the societal transformation, when we see that our institutions, that the community operating as a whole begins to act on those new patterns that have been created, that's when we can really see a society has changed, because the school, the government, the other institutions that serve the community are all aligned. And then instead of seeing a top-down sort of attempt at cultivating a culture, we see more of a cohesive bottom-up, top-down, side-to-side sort of cultivation of culture. And I'll just share briefly one example, because I think that always helps. In Tanah, Vanuatu, there was a group of young people, a group of middle schoolers, that identified a need in their community because their coral reefs had been destroyed, or they were continuously being destroyed by overfishing. So this group of youth that were engaged in a spiritual empowerment program came together with some of the older youth in their society, in their neighborhood, observed this need, thought about how we can respond to it, and then through consultation, through relying on the traditions and the customs of their own people and the wisdom of the other generations in their society, they started to reach out to stakeholders, they reached out to institutions, to the owners of land in the area, government officials, really to make a communal, collective conversation about how we can transform our society for the better, how they can respond to the specific need related to the environment. And in doing so, they both built their own capacity to serve their community, but then also built the community's capacity to think about others. And I think just in that example, and there are of course many of them around the world, we see that through community action, collective responsibility, really injecting spiritual principles into our day-to-day interactions, we can see how culture can be cultivated.
Beautiful. Thanks, Cecilia. I think in thinking about, as we close out this panel conversation, so much love, hope, and trust has been placed into this dialogue, right? We've seen concrete examples of how we, as faith-based organizations, are taking action to really collaborate to create this better future through multisectoral, multi-religious, and intergenerational practices, right? We also have visions, we have dreams of how we could do it even better to ensure that by the time we get to COP30, we're stronger, more resilient, and more collective, that we have that unified vision, but it's not in uniformity, but it's in a unity of common values that we share for a common direction, right? And I think this has been such a lovely conversation, and I'm so happy now to pass it back over to Christine to take us towards our closing. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Steve, for your wonderful and seamless moderation, and also really grateful to our distinguished in-person and virtual panelists for that fruitful and inspiring discussion. As we conclude the side event, I would like to invite Dr. Francis Kuria back on screen to deliver the closing remarks. Dr. Kuria, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Christine, and I'm really, really happy to have listened to that discussion, that very, very vibrant exchange of views, and really the very wonderful moderation and the questions that were raised to the speakers. It's really been a wonderful session, and I'm really grateful for that. I want to thank all for your voices, your wisdom, and your unwavering commitment today. It's really been wonderful, and I like the call to that was made that we should come up with a really move towards a framework of action that addresses some of these issues as faith communities, and also for our religious leaders. As we conclude this powerful gathering, let us take a moment to reflect on what we have achieved and what lies ahead. This dialogue has not been just a meeting of minds, but a union of hearts and of spirit, united by a common purpose. We have gathered as faith actors, youth advocates, and sector experts, spanning diverse continents, generations, and traditions. And in this convergence, we have seen that our differences are not barriers. They are strengths that enable us to address the climate crisis with greater resolve and unity. And us at Religions for Peace would be very happy to think about framework of action for faith traditions as we go towards COP30 and the commitment of the Council of Elders to host another pavilion and see how we can develop that framework. This discussion reinforced a powerful truth. Faith communities are essential allies in the global response to climate change. Our shared values and our unique influence allow us to connect, catalyze, and mobilize with billions around the world. The unique wisdom each of you brought today has reminded us of our collective capacity for change. We have heard of challenges, yes, but more important, we have spoken of solutions rooted in the principles of compassion, justice, and shared responsibility. We need to look more deeply inwards, even as we talk to our governments and policymakers, even as we talk to other policy advocates, the civil society, the private sector, and other stakeholders. We need to really dig deep within ourselves to see how we can move from these discussions to action. Religions for Peace stands with each of you as we move forward. We have done this for many years. We have walked this path promoting interfaith cooperation as a foundation for peace, justice, and environmental stewardship. We are ready to do more, and today our resolve to continue this work, to deepen our partnership, and to ensure that our shared sacred human flourishing is at the heart of climate action. Let us carry today's insights and inspiration beyond the conference of parties into developing a framework of action. The road ahead is long and will not be easy, but together with faith, our guide, and solidarity, we can strengthen ourselves, and there's no limit of what we can accomplish. Thank you for your dedication, your courage, and your commitment to building a future rooted in the peace, compassion, and shared human flourishing. May we continue this journey with renewed hope and purpose and a united spirit for our planet, for all its people, and for generations yet to come. Thank you very much. It's been an honor, and I'm very grateful for Christine for also moderating this, and we look forward to future cooperation. Thank you.